Hello, welcome to Suffra's Pop Culture Channel. Well, today I am going to talk about the Netflix series Hollywood by Ryan Murphy. Now, this is a very Ryan Murphy project, and I really enjoyed it. I will say that I watched it all in one sitting last night. I was up till 4 in the morning, so I'm a little dozy today, but hey, we're in a pandemic. Where am I? I'm on like, I don't even know what day I'm on. I won't even bother trying to say it. It's in the 60s at this point. Anyways, on to Hollywood. I really enjoyed this mini series because I took it for what it's supposed to be, which is a fairy tale or a retelling or an alternative timeline or any of those ideas, mixing in reality with fantasy. And it brings to mind Quentin Tarantino's movie that came out this year, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I enjoyed greatly, but I did only see it one time. And of course, Hollywood I've only seen one time, and that's all I'm going. I can't imagine sitting through it all again. I enjoyed it, um, and I have to say, I loved all the hats. I loved the hats in that show. But any Ryan Murphy project, you at least the ones I have seen, I haven't seen everything. Like, believe it or not, I've never seen Glee. I've never seen Pose or Posse or whatever that one's called. I didn't see the one with Heart, the whatever, Heart to Heart or whatever it was. I haven't seen any of those, but I did see, the Betty Davis, the Betty and Joan Crawford one. Yeah, that's it. See, up till 4. I saw that one. It was okay. Obviously, I've seen all the American Horror Stories, the Scream Queens, and the Versace. Now, every time I see a Ryan Murphy show that I like, that I'm interested in the subject matter, I do enjoy them, and I take them for what they are. Although I didn't have a lot of interest in the Joan Crawford, the Susan Sarandon and stuff, even though I love all the actresses and all the actors in that movie, or the miniseries, I just didn't care. I don't know why, I just didn't. But I did eventually watch it all. Anyways, back to Hollywood. So, like most Ryan Murphy projects, magnificent sets, magnificent costuming, use of color, use of music. He always has these magnificent touches that I really enjoy. Some people absolutely hate that about him. And so, you're watching a Ryan Murphy project. So you love it or hate it. And, then of course there's the whole spectrum of in between because you really can be in between on a Ryan Murphy thing. He doesn't usually have very extreme opinionated people. I find usually people can find a little bit of something to enjoy in his work. So this particular incarnation, he had some of his stable that he usually uses, and then of course brought in some other people that I've never seen before. Maybe some of you have. And I have to say, love, love, love Patti LuPone. I've been a huge fan of hers forever. My copies of Evita are her. I've seen her live singing, and she's of course in American Horror Story. She did a little round in there. And, she's been on other TV shows and stuff. I've seen her to sitcoms and this and that. So, yay. Though it's a little shocking when we first meet her that, she's picking up young gigolos and and she's playing a Jewish woman. And I had to like I didn't Google anything while I was watching, the 8 hours or 10 hours or however long it was. I don't even remember how long I was watching. I just sat and watched it. On Netflix, you don't even have to stand up. Just go to the bathroom or get a snack or whatever. Pause for a second. And so I didn't Google, but I'm pretty sure she's Italian. Lapone, isn't that Italian? So I had to do a bit of a, you know, what the heck? And then today when I was peeking at a couple things before I made this tape, it's like, yeah, she's Italian. She's so Italian. But she's playing a Jewish woman. And I'd say a lot of her scenes. Um, because she's definitely one of the absolute stars in this show. Even if she didn't have a huge role, she's a star. She just has that charisma, that presence. She's amazing, and I've always loved her. I remember I was so excited to see her in Sweeney Todd on Broadway as well. I'm sorry, I just went remembered that as well. She played Mrs. Lovett. So, and that was an interesting rendition of Sweeney Todd, I must say. So it is funny because some of the more dramatic scenes, when there's deaths, or, they're gonna create a movement to make Hollywood better and all that, a new Argentina. You know, every time I turn around, it's like, oh, she should be singing this song from Evita, or that song from Evita, or this song from Evita. But that's just me because I'm crazy, right? We know I'm crazy. Anyways, so this miniseries we kind of follow at first through the eyes of a fictional character called Jack Costello, and he's a handsome young man coming to Hollywood with his wife, and we find out she's pregnant. She's working as a waitress. They've come to Hollywood so he can be a movie star. Very handsome man, not very good at acting and all this. And so through his eyes, we kind of we learn about the corruption of Hollywood, the corruption of the star system, good and bad and indifferent. And this miniseries does have a rich mix of reality and fiction. A lot of real people coming and going in this series, but a lot of people are completely invented as well. So, like a lot of these dramas or whatever, it's an interesting blend, and so I just went with the story. I didn't try to think, oh, well, that person's supposed to be that person. Did that really happen? And all this. The only character that really threw me off every time she appeared, which luckily wasn't much, was, oh, what's her name? Kate McGinnis playing Vivian Lee. I did not like this. I'm sorry, Miss McGinnis. I'm really sorry. I did not like her portrayal of Vivian Lee. I hated it very much. And that just might be because she was playing Vivian Lee at the time. Vivian Lee was in Gone with the Wind, and Gone with the Wind is one of my favorite movies. Whether that makes me evil or not in 2020, I don't know. I just know as a child, I love Scarlett O'Hara. I read the book like 4 times in a row. I just sit and read it, and then I go back and read again. And then the movie I would watch every time it was on TV. I would watch it. I'd seen it in the theater a few times when I was young. Um, and I love, love, love Scarlett O'Hara so much. I even, my editing company is called Scarlett Editing because I love Scarlett O'Hara. And so I know Vivian Lee is not Scarlett O'Hara. I know she's done other work. I've seen her in other work. I've seen lots of biopics. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to say about this Hollywood movie is that I grew up watching, all these movies they're referring to and such, of course. But then I also really loved all those shows like That's Entertainment and all these shows that used to be on where they'd do all these compilation reels of kind of behind the scenes of how all these movies were made and all this stuff. Shirley Temple, Abbott and Costello, Buster Keaton, um, Mary Pickford, and so on, right? And wasn't Mary Pickford the first woman to own a studio? Didn't she invent the studios? I don't know. Maybe I have my facts wrong. But since she's Canadian, nobody cares, right? Um, because they were saying that Patti LuPone's character was the first woman to run a studio, and then when I was looking, just Googling it a little bit, they were saying it was someone else much later, and like in the 70s, and I'm like, no, that's not true. So I don't know. I don't know what's happening with that. Anyways, so Patty LuPone goes from, when we first meet her, she's picking up, hot dudes at the gas station and, having her way with them and complaining about her husband who doesn't pay her much attention, her husband being Rob Reiner. And oh my God, it was so hilarious to see him being like a racist asshole because if you remember going back to All in the Family when he played Meathead, at Carol O'Connor's son, Archie Bunker's son-in-law, who was always, doing the marches, he was the hippie and, you know, peace, love, and grooviness and all that. And then to see him play this asshole, it was good. For those that are my age, that's a nice little thing. That's the thing. I think people my age definitely view this movie differently than the younger people who didn't grow up watching all these big Hollywood movies that they're referring to. A lot of the kids these days probably don't even know who the hell Rock Hudson is, and people like that. Vivian Lee, even. Oh yeah, so I was talking about Vivian Lee. I'm sorry, I was up till four. Uh, and so yeah, I didn't really like her portrayal, but luckily she's just kind of a minor part. Um, and I know when we watch these things, the people don't really have to look like the people they're portraying, because they're their own interpretations of the characters. It's called acting. But even so, I didn't like her look. I didn't like how she spoke. I thought her accent was all over the place. She didn't really have Vivian Lee's stuff down, but that's just my own little beef because I'm a bitch, okay? That's just my own little trauma. Sorry, scooting my chair around. I'm sorry, I'm antsy and I'm not in my swivel chair. I forgot. So 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 this story is taking place in 1947 and kind of revolving around the 20th Academy Awards, which was an interesting time in Hollywood, I guess. I'm not sure why they picked this particular time, but so we're following this young man, Jack Costello, who's come to Hollywood all squeaky clean and shiny, and he gets immediately corrupted because, he tries to do things the right way at first, which of course is to be an extra, which is what I do, a background performer. Except in those days, you had to line up at the gates and wait for the casting directors would come out every morning and pick people from the crowd to do background work. And I must say that must have been brutal. I have an agent who calls or doesn't, it was, but back then it's a brutal thing, and that is very true. That particular part of this movie, absolutely true. That is absolutely what happened back then. That's how it rolled. So Jack gets propositioned by a dude and ends up working at a gas station, which is really kind of a prostitute ring. And apparently this really existed, and it was run by a man in real life who is called Scotty Bowers. Um, and he really did run that prostitution ring out of a gas station. And I don't know if you had to say Dreamland when you got in the car, or that was the code back then, but that's how it was. So he gets totally corrupted, but he draws the line at doing gay things. So then he goes skulking around looking for, we eventually find out finds a gay man who's hungry for Hollywood. Um, and he brings him to the gas station saying, okay, this guy will do all the gay guys so I can be straight. I loved it. I loved it. And the guy he got was a screenwriter called Archie, played by a young man called Jeremy Pope. Now, I don't know who the hell Jeremy Pope is. I looked on IMDb and I didn't really see anything I recognized him in. I know I've never seen this young man before, and I'm totally in love with him now. He stole every scene he's in. He is amazing. And Ryan Murphy has the knack to pick these young men out, and women too. But right now I'm talking about guys. He just, I don't know how Ryan Murphy does it. He just has a way of casting these people, and almost every project I watch of Ryan Murphy's, I fall in love with someone new. I'm in love with Whitrock because of Freak Show. I'm in love with Cody Fern and Darren Criss because of Versace. Um, there's all these guys, there's others, and now I'm in love with Jeremy Pope. I tell you, like his charisma was amazing. And when he's working as a hooker, it's just like, yeah, man, I'll give you $100. You know, I'm there. I'll get in the car. You know, completely. And his acting, his earnestness, his he didn't chew the scenery like a lot of the other actors did. He was very honest, forthright. His character arc was fantastic, and I really loved him. Darren Criss, my honey bun too. Amazing job as a budding director producer type. And his arc goes nicely as well. Start struggling from nothing. I liked the arcs. Our Jack Costello asshole guy. He starts off squeaky clean guy who really just wanted to be a star and it's totally naive and ends up completely corrupted asshole. So we have these arcs and they're really they worked. Like sometimes in American Horror Story, they start with arcs and then they don't go anywhere. But they really had it together for this one. Um, there were arcs for sure. Um, so we had Kamel, who was also part of their little gang of newbies coming to Hollywood, who's married to the Darren Criss character, and she's a young black girl, and so here we go into racial discrimination and homophobia, and all these huge themes are completely tackled and examined in this miniseries. And for someone like me who is already very aware of these issues and ideas, there were many, many times during the miniseries I felt preached at. Um, the whole, yeah, let's put on a show and we'll show them that black people and gay people can do things just as well and we deserve a voice too and all these things, which is fantastic and the point of the series. But to me, because I'm already aware of a lot of the issues in the system, the Hollywood system, from casting couches to racism, to squashing women down and all that. I did feel like I was being preached to the converted, but that's fine. That if we can even educate one or two people who may not have been aware of these issues, even though it's being framed in 1947, but this shit goes on today. It really does. Um, so it was important. We had the whole business. We were talking about Vivian Leigh and Gone with the Wind. Well, we also saw Queen Latifah playing Hattie McDonald, who won Academy Award for playing Mammy in Gone with the Wind, who I love Mammy. I love her so much. And I know it was a racially stereotypical, but she did such a good job. Like I said, I've seen Gone with the Wind like 150 times, And it was um she's she's just like so disgusted or intrigued or Scarlet and her bullshit. It was so good. Anyway, so Queen Latifah does a magnificent job, and so in the fairy tale version that we're watching of this miniseries, Hattie McDonald, who in real life did not even really get to properly enjoy winning her Academy Award for her role. She wasn't allowed to sit with the white people. She wasn't allowed to go to the after party. She was, all because she's a black woman. And so in this fictionalized version, we did that happened to her. But then when Camille wins her Academy Award, when this whole movie, which I'll get to in a second, wins all these awards, they did bring Hattie uh, Daniel was mentoring the Camille character all along, and then she got to go to the awards in this fantasy, which was really nice to see. It was a nice bit. And so anyway, so this movie, what the hell's happening here? So we have Archie has written a screenplay about a white girl called Peg Entwistle, who jumped off the Hollywood sign because she got bummed out that she didn't get a part. And this is a true story. It really happened in real life, like it really did. And so this young black actor was trying to break into Hollywood. So he thought if he wrote about, someone who feels like an outsider, but it's accessible because it's a white girl, that maybe he could be a screenwriter in Hollywood. And so, they love his script. Darren Criss finds his script in a pile of blind submissions, and nobody really realizes he's black till it's already happening. And so that becomes, oh, we got to change the name. Oh, we're, all this stuff, right? But then what I didn't like, I really hated how they decided to go from Peg to Meg. So they decided they're going to make the white girl a black girl, and she's not going to jump off the Hollywood sign, but just climb down. And she's black, so she's like, I'm black and I'm in Hollywood. And but they kept calling it Meg, and I'm sorry, but Ryan Murphy, you must know there's a giant shark movie called The Meg. And, and it's all like every time they said Meg, I just think of the megalodon eating that friggin' yeah. Anyways, not a good choice. Not a good choice. And then when I wasn't, I guess because it's Saturday night and, I wasn't totally straight watching this, And then if I'm not thinking about the megalodon shark eating everyone, then I was thinking of Meg from Family Guy with her little hat. So, yeah, I don't know. They still could have called it Peg, which also was a dumb title. Anyway, so they make the movie Meg, and there's all this other stuff. There's so many layers. I can't get into it in a video. Well, I can, but I talk too much. Um, but we have to get to Jim Parsons. We have to. Ah, we have to. Jim Parsons. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I will never unsee him dancing the dance of Salome, the Seven Veils. Apparently, he choreographed that all himself too. So yeah, so there were a few Sheldon moments, but for the most part, he really tried not to be Sheldon, and he was great, creepy asshole, casting couch agent, and they gave him a redemption arc, even though he really was based on a real casting director leech asshole called Henry Wilson. He really was. There really was a dude like that, but even worse apparently. But in this version, the fantasy version, he gets a bit redeemed, and Patti LuPone gets to run a studio as a Jewish woman. Her husband conveniently dies at the exact right time, thereby, yeah, and that's what was fun about this movie because it is Hollywood and it's a fairy tale. So as we, spoilers, I should have said it at the beginning, but as we go along, like all this stuff that happens is funny. Like it is a comedy. I'm sorry if you took this series seriously, you don't know Ryan Murphy. Ryan Murphy has a huge tongue in his cheek when he does all these things. And you can tell this from Scream Queens because that was just like hilarious. And it's too bad it got canceled because a lot of people didn't get the joke. And also, the second season kind of sucked. But American Horror Story, there's so much comedy in American Horror Story. Um, and this was kind of like that, where if you're sitting there all serious watching all this shit go down, you're not in the right mood. It's funny, it's hilarious. And so, so when we're going to our happy endings, literally, literally and figuratively, it's pretty funny. Oh, but before I get into the endings and stuff, we do need to talk about Rock Hudson for a minute. Oh, did I write down the name of the young man? No, I did not. Oh yeah, and then there was Anna May Wong as well. The Asian actress who was actually a real life actress who did not get her day in the sun in real life, but in this version she gets an Academy Award. Yes. Um, yeah, so there was the whole arc of Rock Hudson. I mean, I was talking about arcs. I definitely meant to bring up Rock Hudson. So Rock Hudson, when we first meet him, he's going to the gas station to meet a young man, and he ends up picking up Archie, our screenwriter, and they have this beautiful relationship. They fall in love. Um, and it's realistic, like Archie's a hooker, and he's like, and they're gay, and it's like, we can't be gay, we can't have a life, we can't have a home, we just have to live in the shadows and all that, and that's what huge part of the theme is, of course, is hiding in the shadows and not being true to who you are and all that sort of stuff. And Rock Hudson, when we first meet him, he's kind of chubby. He's like an idiot. He's just bumbling and stupid and naive and but you love him because the actor does such a good job of you just want to hug him and take him home. You know, he's so shy, you know, and he's shy about being gay, he's shy about having sex, he's shy about auditioning. He's a terrible actor in his screen test and all that. But in real life, like I was trying to think of, you know, because I did grow up, you know, I still remember Flintstones, Rock Hudstone, and all that. And he's in some Hitchcock movies. You know, he's a huge movie star. He's in like tons of stuff when I was growing up. I don't remember him being clumsy and stupid and oafish and all that. So they kind of made him that, and then his arc was huge. You know, because Jim Parsons gives him, you know, dental implants and has him work out and become a stud because that's what Henry Wilson did was to groom these young men into beefcake Hollywood hunks. You know, so they can all be on Ryan Murphy shows. Because, you know, one nice thing about Ryan Murphy shows is you always got a room full of hunks. And hey, man, in this series, they're all naked swimming. I would have loved to have been an extra on the set that day. Of course, it was all men, so I wouldn't have anyways. But it was like, yeah, we got the beautiful boys happening here. We certainly do. And so, yes, kudos for the Rock Hudson stuff. Um, Except I don't know if he was that dumb. Maybe he was. But of course, that also gives it you know, it gives us more layers and depths to all the characters because we had a lot of very intelligent people. We had, you know, our main guy, Jack Costello, who's naive but very smart. And once he realizes the game he has to play, he goes in and plays that game to a T, cheating on his wife. And then, of course, oh yeah, so we come to the big endings, right? So they make the Meg. Suddenly, black people are okay. They're all winning Academy. We got a black screenwriter, a black actress, or they win their Academy Awards. Um, Rock Hudson and Tony get, you know, they get to Archie, I mean, sorry, Rock Hudson and Archie get to, you know, buy a house and, you know, I guess get married. I don't know if they actually get married, but they're together and they went to the premiere hand in hand and you know, and they kissed at when Archie won his Academy Award and all hell didn't break loose. Some people went, "Oh," but you know, it wasn't like nobody shot him or anything. It is the States. Um, Oh, I just saw the name here. The other guy on the Ryan Murphy projects, Zach Villa, when he played Richard Ramirez, that was the other one I fell in love with because of Ryan Murphy's casting. Anyways, back to Hollywood. Uh, so we have our happy ending. Like, you know, the film gets burned, but the editor had saved another copy in somewhere, and just like they did with the Wizard of Oz, and the Wizard of Oz situation was actually true, where they had destroyed the song Over the Rainbow because they didn't like it, but then the editor had kept a copy of the song, and so the song was put back in, and of course we know what happened. Judy Garland became, you know, amazing. Anyway, so they did a riff on that in here with the guy. Yes, I saved the movie, the Meg movie, the Megalodon movie. You know, and yeah, so we had all our happy endings. You know, the gay people are recognized, the black people are recognized, the Asian people are recognized. The script is amazing. It was you know that this beginner script by beginner directed by a first time director with all these first time actors, amazing, they all win Academy Awards, woohoo. And then, you know, in real life, the as you know, Rob Reiner's character drops dead at the appropriate time. You know, Eva Peron gets to rule Argentina once again. um, you know, it was and all this great stuff. You know, Eleanor Roosevelt, played by Harry S. Harris, amazing. all these subplots, great, but I've been going on forever now. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. And what else with the happy endings? Yeah, just so much. I liked that. A lot of people hated that, but it's like the show is called Hollywood, and it's a fairy tale fantasy, and the good guys won, and this is typical Hollywood. Even though I don't buy the idea that a movie called Meg with a black actress who, the whole point of it was to portray this tragic story of a woman named Peg who flung herself off the Hollywood sign, and it's supposed to show, whatever the ravages of Hollywood or whatever, but instead they turn it around that she decides not to fling herself off the sign and she climbs down and runs off with Jack Costello or whatever. I'm not sure that would win an Academy Award, but the whole justification in the show being that, well, for showing, it's the first time we're showing a black actress in a leading role, so we can't really have her kill herself because then that would depress all the black people we're trying to raise up and make them feel good about themselves, and now she's dead. So yeah, I get it. I'm not unaware of why they did that. Anyways, yeah, so I would say, oh, one last thing. In 2018, Jordan Peele won for Get Out. That was the first male Black Academy Awards. And 2002 is Halle Berry won for Monster. So that's a long way from 1947, isn't it? A long way. So, what else? There's so much. I'm missing so many actors. The subplots. The acting coach, uh, who's on Two and a Half Men and is Sarah Paulson's wife, and she was amazing, amazing. Oh, her name's escaping me right now. She was so good, so good. Everyone was really good. Like I said, there were a couple people that really chewed the scenery, and I'm like, oh come on, like what are you doing? And some clunky bits, but really good show. So go watch it if you haven't, if I haven't already spoiled the hell out of it for you. What did you think of it? Did you enjoy it? Did you find it annoying? Did you think it was too preachy? Did you just sit back and enjoy all the hats like I did? Anyways, let me know in the comments. And yeah, I'd love to hear what all the rest of you think. Because I know just peeking around on Facebook when people were watching it last week, it was so divided of what people thought of this show. So, anyways, I enjoyed it. It was fun. And yeah, now I have to see Jeremy Pope if they're going to put him in American Horror Story. Oh, one more last thing I wanted to say was because I am a horror writer and I watch a ton of horror, and because I love American Horror Story, Scream Queens, The Assassination of Versace, all those things. There were so many times I was watching these scenes and I kept waiting for like someone to get slaughtered or machine gunned or knifed or something bursting out of their bodies or a limb falls off. Especially when like the gay guys are so happy, regardless of what scene it is, whether it's all the naked guys in the pool or Archie hanging out with Rock Hudson or whatever's happening. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. And, oh no, someone's gonna come in and kill them all or whatever. But of course, it's not a horror show, so none of that stuff happened. Anyways, oh, Dylan McDermott was absolutely amazing too. Yeah. Anyways, all right, that's it. Let me know your comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye.